Hello, welcome back. Episode 5 of Risoli's Recipes for Success. I haven't been on here in a couple weeks, and some other things have come up over that time. Been doing a lot of HR podcasts, some other networks. Been out there interviewing, quite a few interviews as of recently myself, and dealing with some other things, spending time with family that have taken some precedence over this podcast as of recent, but wanted to get back into it. Halloween was yesterday. Hope anyone who went out enjoyed their time, and want to get back into what our next episode is going to be about. So last time we were talking, left off at dealing with one of my guiding principles, which was the one team, one approach principle. The one that I want to talk about today is the leadership principle that I personally practice the most, and that's servant leadership. And there's lots of different types of leaderships. I've discussed this some of the other HR podcasts I've been on that discuss different types of leadership approaches, authoritative leadership, passive leadership, and the one team leadership approach. The one I like is servant leadership, and I think this is probably one of the most popular well-known leadership approaches as of recent. And if you're new to joining this, I try and keep these podcasts under 15 minutes long, so they're kind of quick hits of what to best take out of practicing important, impactful principles and practices that I use and want to discuss, mentor people on in all aspects of life, whether it's professional, personal, or self-improvement. So the topics that I discussed are a wide variety. Again, I kind of been kicking these off, talking about my guiding principles principles that I like to practice. So if you haven't seen some of these podcasts before, go back, watch from episode 1, please. But we are on episode 5 now. So what is servant leadership? It is exactly what servant leadership seems like it's supposed to be. It's a philosophy where leaders prioritize the well-being and growth of their team members. So doing for others more than doing for yourself. So it's not about the golden rule. That's treating others as you wish to be treated. This is putting others before yourself when serving and leading. So the approach flips traditional leadership models by emphasizing empathy, humility, and selflessness. So again, showing you're a human in essence. So showing that empathy towards that other person, however, for what they're going through, however, also showing humility in yourself, meaning that even though you're the leader, you can admit wrongdoing. You can admit that you're willing to do things that might be seen as lesser of you, or something that's beneath you to do through your humility, and then obviously doing something for others, which is the selflessness part of it. So this dates back to ancient philosophies, honestly, and that they're grounded in the belief that true leadership is not about being authoritative. It's not being the authority that's in place, but also about empowering and uplifting others. And that kind of does go back to my episode 4 a little bit about the team approach, because when you're empowering, uplifting others, what are you doing? You're making the whole team stronger. And by doing that and making the whole team stronger, you're eventually, most likely as a result, the compounding effect of that is going to be making yourself stronger as the leader, that leads that team. So there is that benefit, but you're doing it instead of, using the bullwhip in hand to get the action. You're serving your team, which is uplifting the entire team's performance. And when I talk about team, yes, I'm talking about it in the sense of a professional setting, being the leader, but it's not just about that. It could be your team at, the home team, right? Your family, making members of your family, and it doesn't have to necessarily be your children. It could be your brothers and sisters and parents and significant other. It could be a team being a non-for-profit organization that you work with and volunteer with, working with them. It could be a church, from a religious organization, and giving back from those standpoints. So that's going to kind of lead me a little bit into, some examples that I'm going to bring up in the next part of this segment, which is these servant leaders possess distinct characteristics that set themselves apart from others. What are some of those characteristics? Active listening, right? So actively listening to the team members of what their needs are. Demonstrate your genuine empathy and understanding of what those needs are. Act as a steward, all right, ensuring that the resources entrusted to them are used for the greater good. So making sure that they have the tools to do what they need to do in order to be better, but then also be committed to their personal and professional growth on the team, fostering an environment that is continuously learning and developing, and then leading by example, all right, which is huge, right? Leading by example. So, when you talk about lead by example, the number one person that I always think of is the firstborn child, right? That person is supposed to lead by example. They're supposed to embody the values of the family that the parents want the younger children to take on. They're the ones paving the way for the future success. So in essence, the firstborn child in a family is typically a servant leader, because they are giving back to the younger siblings, helping to pave the way to raise the whole family's success. So that's a family example. But there's other examples that I'll use here. Mahatma Gandhi was definitely a servant leader, trying to champion social justice and changes. Obviously, Martin Luther King could be used as another famous example regarding that, by being a servant leader to his community of brethren, such that he wanted to uplift the morals, values, and future successes of an African American population. Herb Kelleher, which is another professional example, comes from as the founder or co-founder of Southwest Airlines, who emphasized that the importance of employee first, customer second, would lead to success of Southwest Airlines. There was other aspects and things that Southwest Airlines put in place that saw the success of that company. But again, an employee first aspect through servant leadership, did put Southwest Airlines on the map for having the best customer service and some of the best success early on of an airline in the history of airlines, commercial airlines. And these, both of these examples, all of these examples are individuals that I'm discussing. They exemplify the essence of servant leadership, showing that putting others first can lead to extraordinary outcomes. So let's go into the next area of what are the benefits of servant leadership. Well, why should organizations or nonprofits, other areas, family life, embrace servant leadership? You say, well, they're profound. I would say that servant leaders foster a positive workplace culture, or a positive culture to begin with, where they make sure that their team members feel valued, they feel respected, they feel heard. That person sees them not as necessarily their leader, but also their equal, right? As a servant leader, they actually in some aspects are seen as submissive to their employees, meaning that they're willing to jump in and do for them task or help them out, and actually take direction from their own employees by helping pitching in and giving that helping hand. So think of it like you're the boss, and instead of telling that associate, hey, go dig that ditch over there, okay, but you might not know how to properly do it in order to install a sewer main, right, to a new house. You were willing to show, hey, you know what, I'm coming to work today. I got my hard hat on. I got my boots. I'm going to jump in there with you. But guess what? You might not know how to do it as the boss. So what are you doing? You're taking direction actually from people that you typically lead, by showing them, I'm willing to jump in the hole with you, dig the dirt with you, hook up the sewer main with you. And I didn't know how to do it, but I'm willing to take your direction and trusting you that it'll be done right. And I'm showing you that I know this work is important. I know that this job is important. And I know, and here I am busting my hump, having empathy and appreciation for the work that you do, showing, and then also leading by example that no job in the company is beneath you as the leader. So, trust in the environment or have trust in the environment that you're working in or operating in. Have collaboration. that leads to increased employee engagement, higher productivity, innovative thinking, come up with creative thinking through some of these things. So that boss that's in that pitch that's digging, they're going to see a different perspective, right? They're going to be able to operate at a level that, takes them down from maybe a 30 or a 15,000 foot level right into the front line of what's being done. That gives them an opportunity to see the work and maybe look at ways to improve the work that'll eventually have a better effects on the employees that are doing it on the daily. Also, the impact of servant leadership extends beyond the workplace. It creates a sense of purpose, all right, in what you're doing. It's a fulfillment. It also promotes personal and professional well-being, I would say. And then the long-term effects, it builds loyalty and trust, right? Not only between leaders and their teams, but also among team members. This trust forms foundations for a strong, resilient organization, capable of weathering challenges and achieving remarkable feats. So again, when you're a leader that has that trust, that foundation, again, it makes you weather those challenges together. It makes you it puts you at a place with the team that makes everyone realize the shared goals, going back to prior podcasts, the vision, the mission of the organization, the mission of the family, the mission of the task that you're at, the mission of getting to a goal is something that you're willing to weather together as a team. All right, and taking that ownership, as they always say, a good leader, takes accountability for a failure and shares the successes with others. They applaud their team for the successes. They take the failure on their own shoulders. So what are some of the challenges and how do we overcome servant leadership with implementing that? So there are drawbacks to servant leadership. I mean, it's not like the one end all perfect leadership style, right? So while the concept is inspiring, it does have challenges. So like balancing authority and servitude can be a delicate act. What do I mean by that? Leaders might face resistance or skepticism, especially in environments where they're accustomed to that traditional hierarchy structure. So telling someone what to do and they do it is one thing, but when you're a servant leader and you open yourself up, you become somewhat vulnerable at times when there's some resistance to that. So employees might be willing to push back more a little bit on you as the leader or on your decisions that you've come up with versus do as I say, not as I do. Here you are doing as others do, and they're questioning sometimes as do as you say to do. So it's there are sometimes with these challenges that you might face, but again, that's where that trust comes in. That you're building trust that to overcome that. You're also again building overcoming the challenges through things like education and communication and leading by example. So again, being in that trench digging, you're leading by example, you're building trust, you have a better communication, and also you have an education on what's being done. So, well, who are you as the boss to tell me what I do? You don't even know how to do my job. Well, guess what? Typically, as a servant leader, you have done their job, right? You have dug that trench with them. You have learned. You have shared in that sweating for the day. So again, you do have the education in order to make those decisions. You do have the trust. You can lead by example. You do have better communication options. So those are ways to overcome those challenges. Also, when adopting this approach, there's some practical tips that I would say to keep in mind. Start by proactively listening, right? If you're not a good leader if you're a leader that doesn't do well in listening, then you're going to struggle. So actively listening to what your associates are saying, your family's saying, your children are saying is extremely important. Also, truly hear what they're saying. Don't just listen, but actively listen. All right. Being on your phone as you're listening, that's not actively listening. All right. Truly hearing what they're saying is really important. Fostering a culture, again, professional, personal setting of open communication and collaboration. Again, really important. Making sure that you're truly engaged in the conversation, making sure that you have trust built up such that they do feel comfortable having open communication with you. about different things that are going on in the workplace, in their life. Those are things that are extremely important. Reflect on the actions and decisions, ensuring you align with the principles of servant leadership. So, and most importantly, be patient, right? When listening, when coming up with ideas, when communicating change or actions that need to take place, be patient. Not everybody moves at the same pace. Not everybody's open to change. So change leadership is obviously something that takes into account, when dealing with servant leadership. It takes time, but again, there are huge rewards that are immeasurable when change takes effect in a positive manner, and the team dynamics change based on based on the culture that you're putting in place. So again, organizational leadership, whether or not in a personal setting, in a professional setting, utilizing servant leadership as part of those organizational changes is something that I definitely have as one of my key guiding principles, and try and keep these under 15 minutes. So I want to thank you for joining me today. Again, serving leadership, true leadership is about serving others, all right, and making sure that there's a positive difference in their lives, not just professionally, but also personally. I encourage you to share your thoughts, experiences with servant leadership through the comments that are made. As I post this out on various websites like LinkedIn, you can catch me with Risoli's Recipes for Success or Jason Risoli at LinkedIn, at Facebook, at Reddit, Twitter, all the same, at Jason Risoli. So until next time, I'll be talking about my next guiding principle that I'll discuss on the next episode. I hope to put that out much sooner than I did this one. I apologize it took so long, but I will definitely look to catch you all in the near future on my next episode. So thank you very much for joining, and have a great day.